shrinking, and there are journalists who are doing more and more work with less and less staff. And then we acquired Harrow in 2010. Has anybody used Harrow? Have you heard of it before? Yeah, good job. Harrow and Peter Shinkman, who actually just recently left Focus, are really bummed about that. But Harrow basically is a service where the journalists come to you and they give you their story ideas, and you pitch your business because it's related. And we're seeing even more results with that. And with the evolution of social media into business, North Social came with Facebook apps for business pages, and then iContact most recently in 2012 for email marketing. So what does all this mean? What is this? Hello? It's an integrated approach. And so what we believe is that you shouldn't just be doing one facet of marketing. You should be integrating all of them together. So not just PR and press releases, not just email marketing, not just search and SEO tools, not just social, and not just content. You should be doing all of them together. Quiz number 2, just for fun. What was Party Aficionado formerly known as? Does anybody know? Oh my God, are you kidding me? Correct. Party Aficionado. You definitely get a book for that one. She was actually formerly known as Perfect Date. That's when I think we got to know Party Aficionado. She's one of our success stories. She's plastered all over prweb.com for her business successes. So I just thought that was a fun little fact if you didn't know anything about Cheryl. Okay, so let's get to the fun stuff. How does social affect search? So let's look at an example. Who is Party Aficionado? Cheryl, I'm so sorry I keep using you in all of these examples, but you're just a really good example. So if you search for Party Aficionado on on Google, you notice that her Twitter handle is a #2 search result. That, to me, is amazing. That's cray-cray, if you want to say it that way, because years ago, that was not possible. That was unheard of, that these social accounts were coming up in search results. And so what we're seeing is that social signals are affecting SEO. This is a graph from Tasty Placement, if you've never heard of them. And so what it's showing us is that these social networks, when you post to them, they increase your search rankings by this much %. And the interesting thing about this is, you know how Google rules the world, is that posting to Google increases your search rankings the most. Imagine that. So search engines are using social media to deliver more relevant results. And so having social accounts that are keyword rich, they're relevant, they're updated consistently, and when I say consistently, I mean daily, help move your site ranking up in Google. And because people log on to social networks multiple times a day and stay logged in, how many of you log into Facebook more than once a day? How many of you stay logged in all day? Okay, what about Twitter? You log into Twitter at least once a day? You stay logged in all day? Use apps like TweetDeck to stay in the know all damn day? Yes, exactly. This is my point. Okay, so this is a search in Google for top social media tips. And so, you know, some cool search results, social media today, 60-second marketer, Jamie Turner, he's really cool. But if you're signed in to Google, which I'm sure most of you are most of the day for Gmail, you notice that the search results, they completely change. And this happened in Google Search Plus Your World when this was introduced in 2012, I believe. And so now the top search results that you get when you're signed in come from people who are connected to you. That's what this little person means. And that is unbelievable. Again, it's cray-cray because it totally changed SEO. You no longer are getting search results that rank highly just because of keywords. You're getting search results that come from people who are relevant to you through social. And so more fun things about Cheryl when you're logged into Google, again, you're seeing that the top 2 search results, out of the top 5 search results, 2 of them are social media accounts. And in some cases, when you're searching for people on social, sometimes even 4 or 5 of the search results on page 1 are social media accounts. That is astounding because several years ago, that did not exist. Even better now, when you're signed into Gmail, as I'm sure you of the day, you can see if that person is on Google, you get their profile, what they've talked about recently, their contact information, her recent post about this stage a couple days ago. This is amazing. This is how people are finding other people, and social is delivering more relevant results for the people who are more relevant to you. Okay, so this is Google's basically explanation of how they weight social posts. And so, my clicky is crazy. There we go. I'm sorry about that. So, social signals are the future of SEO, and this is the way Google is evaluating social posts. And what they're saying is that sites such as Google+, Livefire, Meetup, Reddit, Tumblr, MySpace, and WordPress are using this very social map to weigh important posts and display them in search results. And Google advises that you're on these networks to gain the most SEO weight. And so what they're saying is that more networks are going to be added, obviously like Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, because those are the ones that we're the most active on. But the more relevant and consistent your activity is on these networks, using these facets such as voting, commenting, posting, resharing, and bookmarking, the better you will rank in search. Oh, more cray-cray stuff. Facebook graph search. Who is excited about Facebook graph? Have you heard of it? Did anybody get it yet? Oh, you're so lucky. I'm still in beta. It's ridiculous. So Facebook graph search is here, and this absolutely blows my mind in terms of social because instead of using Google, you can use natural language search terms to search through Facebook just like you would search through Google, and you couldn't do that before. So within Facebook, you can search for restaurants my friends like, or photos of historic Tulsa. And so with the introduction of graph search, even though it isn't rolled out to everyone yet, businesses, anyone who's trying to get more visibility on social should really be optimizing their pages to make sure that they can be found in graph search. So these are guidelines, the top 3 guidelines from Facebook themselves on how to be great in graph search and how to be findable. So name, category, vanity URL, and information you share help people find your business. So basically, make sure all your information is filled out. Make sure your bio is filled out, your location, and it includes keywords, the keywords that you use on your own business website. If you have a location or a local place page, update your address. It's very simple. And focus on attracting the right fans to your page and giving fans a reason to interact with your content on an ongoing basis. And so how do you do that? Bam, hashtag Facebook. Did you guys hear about this? Cheryl alluded to this earlier. And the Wall Street Journal first reported it last week. And basically, there's a source somewhere in Facebook that is saying that they're going to introduce hashtags to Facebook just like their hashtags on Twitter. And what does this mean? Well, it's really powerful stuff because it will improve Facebook's search and indexing capabilities. So searches within conversations on Facebook, just like the way you go to Twitter and you SMTULSA and you see all the conversation chronologically. That's amazing. You'll also be able to increase your personal and brand reach because you'll be able to search through hashtags and find new people, find new businesses and brands that are speaking within a hashtag, encourage more real-time conversation. And then the interesting thing is, I know we're seeing a lot more pay for play on social media. You know, there's promoted tweets, there's promoted posts. There's a lot of controversy on the visibility of brand pages and timeline since the new algorithm. Does anybody here have a brand page and has seen their rankings drop after that algorithm change? You guys know what I'm talking about? Right. And so, you know, if you pay to promote your post or your page and all of a sudden your reach goes up. And so this is a big thing for brands. But with the introduction of this hashtag, it might really help boost visibility. So If this comes out, got to be on it. So social is also changing the way we find our news. So how do you find your news online? Chances are you Google it, right? Or how many people go to Facebook or Twitter first to see what their friends are saying about it? Just share it? No, come on, yes. I don't go to CNN anymore. I don't know if that's shameful or not, but I go to Facebook and I want to see what people are saying. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is that a lot of times you may not find news on TV or on the web first. You find it out on social first. News breaks on social. I don't know if I live under a rock or not, but I didn't find out about the Pope until I logged on to Facebook. I don't know if that's sad, but for someone who's socially connected, yes, see? You find about news, because that's where we are the most, and that's where our prospects are the most. And in a little bit later in the presentation, we're going to find out that that is where the media is as well, and how you can use social to attract the media. And so it's not only the news cycle that's affected by social, it's the buying cycle. How many, I tried to research you guys before I came. I think I pretty much followed every single one of you on Twitter to find out more about what you do, but how many of you, sell a product or a service? Great. So then you are familiar with the buying cycle. And so this is a simplified buying cycle that you're probably aware of. But the cool thing about it is that these stages of the buying cycle are happening on social publicly, and they're unfolding right in front of our eyes. And so you can identify potential customers by using tools to monitor your industry keywords, plus keywords that express need, want, or consideration for your products and services. Social proof about social. So 81% of customers family members on social networking sites for advice before purchasing products. Who does that here? I have some examples here. Anytime I want something, I ask my friends about it, because people trust other people who are like themselves, correct? They don't trust the recommendations of a brand. They trust their friends. So if I want to know what's a good restaurant in Tulsa, I'm going to ask Cheryl. I'm not going to go Google it, because Cheryl knows best. 7 consumers trust peer recommendations, and only 14% trust ads. That's something to say for these pay-for-play social networks when we're doing promoted tweets and promoted posts. And not to say that targeted social promoted posts don't work, but I'm going to show you an example, and please excuse the profanity of what happens when you don't do targeted social media promoted posts. It's intrusive, and people hate it. Are you ever on a site and you get one of those pop-up ads that are like blinking and you can't exit out? How irritating is that? And so these promoted social posts, in a way, sometimes are like that. So I like to express the really organic, not push marketing in social media. It's not push. It's organic. It's pull. You want to draw people and you want to engage. You don't want to force yourself into conversations that people really don't want you in. 36% of people trust brands more with social presence. Why is that? Have you guys ever tweeted a brand and had them tweet you back and you got like really excited? You know, like when you tweet Doritos about the new Doritos Locos Tacos and they decide to make Cool Ranch and you're like, yes, I influenced something. People trust brands when they have a social presence, and it's because the brands that are on social media now, they understand the immediacy of social media. And you as brands, having your presence, should have immediacy when it comes to social media. People don't want to pick up the phone, nor do they have the time to pick up the phone and be put on hold and talk to some person who sounds like they've had a bad day. They feel better when they have a public forum where they can express their thoughts, and they know that, you know, there's a good chance they'll be responded to. 68% of consumers go to social networking sites to read product reviews. I do, because quite frankly, they're uncensored. There was a controversy with Yelp and some other review sites where they were letting brands pay, you know, to have positive reviews at the top. Since then, I think they've fixed that. But You know, you go to Amazon and sometimes you see some of these reviews and it looks like somebody made them up, quite frankly. So on social networking sites, the reviews are uncensored, and that's why people go there. And 50% or more use social networks to provide product feedback, both positive and negative. I do, because I think it's nice. As a community manager, I feel pride when I see someone come and review Vocus on our site and it's positive. Even if it's negative, it's okay, because I can go and I can try and solve it. And so people go there because it's just easier to do it. So if you have customers that are doing it, I suggest you pay attention. % of consumers say user-generated product reviews have a significant or good impact on their behavior. This is going back to word-of-mouth marketing. People trust other people who are like themselves. And after a brand engages with a prospect, they're more likely to buy. How crazy is that? That you could talk to someone on social media and they might buy. That is the ROI of social media right there. There are a lot of questions about it. How do you track it? But the fact is that people are trusting brands on social media. They're getting recommendations, they're getting feedback, and they're making purchases based on what they see on social media. So what about PR? The title of my presentation was evolution of PR, social, and SEO. So I wanted to touch a little bit on the PR aspect, because I know as brands, as small businesses, you know, we're looking for coverage, we're looking for publicity, and we're looking for buzz. So how do we get that? The answer is content. Content, content, content. How many of you guys have a blog? Fantastic, thank you. So this term, brand journalism, you've probably heard of it before. I did not create it. I believe I owe the credit to Brian Solis or maybe Mark Reagan. But brand journalism is all about being your own brand journalist and writing the story about your brand. And when I say story, I don't mean story, like telling a story. I mean telling a good story well about your brand or your business. What problems does your brand solve? What pain points does it alleviate in your customers' lives? You need to find good customer, you know, case studies, testimonials, right? You know, a story of the evolution of your brand that'll hook the media, because you know what? The media are searching the internet and are searching social for their news stories. So this is a really good example from my neck of the woods. You might have heard of him, Marcus Sheridan. He owns a pool business out in Virginia. He just builds pools, cool stuff, normal stuff, right? And so when the economy was tanking, business wasn't booming, he was trying to figure out ways to get more publicity, get more buzz around his business. So what he started doing was he started blogging about things that his competitors wouldn't blog about. He would blog about how to fix your pool if there's a crack in it, the actual pricing of pools, because their competitors wouldn't reveal it on the web. And so he had this simple strategy of answering your customers' questions publicly instead of hiding it behind, you know, a mask or a call or a sales pitch or a demo, and he ended up in the New York Times for it. Just a pool guy. This is nuts. And so here's some data from a Vocus study that we do every year. It's called the Annual State of the Media Report. And so journalists are using social media to find content. They're searching hashtags for trends. They're searching Facebook for groups and conversations. They're using social media to get a pulse on what's happening in the different industries and the different beats that they're covering. And not surprisingly, Twitter and Facebook are the more popular platforms that they use for their research. That's crazy, because we used to fax journalists our press releases. They used to have sources, and they would make calls and say, hey, do you know anybody who did this? Now they're searching for story ideas on social media. This is why I'm stressing that your content on your social media has got to be relevant, it's got to be consistent, and it's got to take part in the conversations that are going on around you so that you can get found. And then the journalists that we surveyed reported that they use social media very frequently for their reporting. And so those stats are pretty interesting, but I wanted to note, we did a study once that said that journalists did used to like being pitched through social media, and now that has shifted since that, prefer being pitched by social media simply because it's just too intrusive, it's too invasive, and they get too much. Just like they get too many emails in their inbox, they're getting too many tweets and DMs from unrelated things. So this demonstrates the fact that you need to have more relevant, better content, consistent content so they can find you because they are searching. The date of the data is 2013. This was taken very early this year. And I have my email at the end, like all the stats and all this stuff. I can email you all the white papers and stuff it came from. It's very cool stuff. So what's the best part of social? I wanted to ask you guys this question because I wanted your input. After this, I would like to do a little bloggy blog on social media Tulsa. So I want to know from you, what's the best part of social? Hands. Connecting, absolutely. Would you like a book? Come on up. Who else? What is the best part of social? What is your favorite part of social? Okay, what's the part you hate the most about social? Let's do that. Spammers, yes. Please come get a book. I hate spammers. And you make an interesting point about the spammers because as businesses, sometimes we're perceived as spammers. I showed you that slide earlier about people's reactions to our ads on social media. And if you're not targeted with your outreach, you can be perceived as a spammer. So you have to be very careful with your tone and your frequency and the kind of things that you say. Even the jokes that you make can offend people. So it's very important to get a pulse on your audience and the people that you're talking to. I had one up here. Exactly. And I think that is like my #1 mantra for the whole day or the whole conference is to remember that social media is for connections. I think that I'm going to say something a little controversial. I know as brands we're on social media because we want to sell. But first and foremost, we should be on it because we want to make connections first, selling second. Would you like a book? Then behind you, my cowboy hat had a comment. Yeah. Yeah. Do you think there's a line between, between business and personal? So there should absolutely be. That's really interesting. Yeah. I hear a lot of both sides of the coin. It's like, I don't want to see your kids and your cats, but I don't want to see your business either. So I like I like kids and cats for the record. I mean, honestly, it's all about your audience. It's hard to say. I like to say, there is no line between business and personal, and that's just strictly from a business perspective. Like I made a comment to her earlier today about how I can't cuss on my Twitter, and that's probably a good thing because you want to represent yourself properly in business because your prospects, they're not just going to research your business, they're going to research who's behind it, and they don't want to see some crazy person tweeting pictures of them doing standing on kegs, doing keg stands and bongs on a Friday night. Nobody cares, especially if you're the ones running that business. So I like to say keep the line between business and personal very thin. Yes? Yeah. And that's one of the problems with social, I think, is that the networks are so immediate, so when we see something, we tend to believe it, and that's causing a problem in journalism too, because journalists will see some news and then they'll report it wrongly, and it's happened, like in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, they reported something without verifying it just because a bunch of people were tweeting about it. But in other cases, it becomes a really invaluable resource. Like, I hate to bring this up, but I think the death of Whitney Houston first broke on Twitter, and the news didn't like confirm it until, like 40 minutes to 2 hours later, but it broke on Twitter and it was real, so pretty interesting. Would you like a book too? Thank you. Absolutely, and I feel that way too because Cheryl has come to the Vocus conference, but BK Tulsa and Raw Marketing, you guys all, I've been talking to you on Twitter for so long, and then I meet you in person finally. It's like, okay, this is the person I've been talking to. This is really, really cool, and we find out we have all these things in common. And in many cases, I think that I've made more connections through social media before real life now. And is that the way that life is now? That we meet people and we have these online relationships, and then we meet them in person and make these business connections? I think it's really crazy. It makes me feel kind of like a nerd. I'm just behind a computer all day, just like talking to people like some weirdo, and then I meet them in person. I'm like, oh, you're awesome, But that's just the way it is. I like this community part of it. Honestly, I hate just talking at people. I would rather get some input from you guys. So questions are welcome, because I know we have quite a bit of time. I still have some slides though. So let's go through a couple and then we'll do some questions. So what's next for social media? These are my predictions. I want to hear yours as well. So tweet your social media predictions using the SMTULSA hashtag, and I will include you in my blog, credit and all. So increase search capabilities. I'm talking the Facebook graph search and the hashtag. There's going to be new platforms. I mean, there's always going to be new platforms. Whether they're going to be new and shiny or whether they're going to stick is going to be something that we'll see. Instagram, I thought, was something that was gonna fade, and then Facebook bought them, and they're integrating them more and more. But Instagram is no longer showing up in Twitter since Facebook bought them. So it's faded in one aspect of social, but it's really risen on another social platform. So that's something really interesting. And Pinterest was something I also thought was new and shiny, but adding SEO capabilities. What about Vine? Do you guys use Vine? Anybody heard of Vine? So Vine is like a 6-second video platform that Twitter recently bought. And so you take these little 6-second videos, and what's cool about them is that they end up being like stop motion videos, and they're very shareable, and they show up in Twitter. So what marketers are asking now is, do these have SEO value? Because what's great about Vine is that we have no attention spans as people anymore. Like, our attention span is like 7 seconds long. So I guess that's why they did 6-second Vines, because nobody pays attention to anything anymore. So I'm not saying it's going to make YouTube obsolete, but the probability of someone watching a 2.5-minute YouTube video is much lower than someone watching a 6-second Vine, because it's quick. You're done with it. On next. I got other stuff to do. So social signals are going to receive more SEO weight. I think this is happening particularly with Google+. So if you're not on it, if you're not using it consistently, do it now. And this is not, the third point is not what's next. This is something I want to stress moving forward in social. for anyone who's on social, truly understanding your audience and relationship building to be more effective. More pay for play on social is going to happen if Facebook introduces that hashtag. I guarantee you they're gonna, have the ability to pay for it to make it appear as like the top hashtag, just kind of how Twitter has the trending hashtags and there's the one promoted one. I guarantee Facebook will do that. And like I said, tweet your predictions to SMTULSA to be in my blog. All right, so I've got 5 social media mantras that I want you guys to live by. If you don't remember anything from my presentation because I talk really fast or I stuttered or whatever, I want you to remember these. Number 1, if you do not have passion for it, you will not succeed on social. And so I'm not saying if you don't have a passion for social media, because maybe we need to be on social media and it's imperative to get our brand out there. However, if you don't have passion for what you're promoting on social media, you will not succeed. If you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to? So it's a little harsh, but whatever it is that you're promoting, you have to believe in it. You have to be versatile with it. You have to create new content around it and conversations and want to meet people. Otherwise, you will not succeed. Number 2, it's not about likes, followers, reach, or impressions. I cannot stress this enough. Having a large, unengaged community is so invaluable. I like to say that it's better to have a smaller, tight-knit community that you can engage with, that you can activate to do things, rather than a large community that just doesn't do anything. So people buy followers, people buy likes, it doesn't matter. Your bosses, your executives, your CEOs, your managers, whatever, they're not going to be impressed by the number of likes that your pages have. Number 3, do not stress over the competition. Instead, focus on your own strengths and weaknesses. This is also something I hesitate to say because there is something to be said for competitive analysis. However, you shouldn't duplicate their efforts or fixate on what they're doing in social media. What they might be doing in social media might not work for you. We have a competitor that does some really cool, funky stuff, but that's because they've done really cool, funky stuff for a long time. Vocus is a little bit corporate, I guess you could say. We've been around for 20 years, and when we try to make funny jokes, we usually get some nasty comments back because we have corporate clients, and they don't understand things like the word cray-cray when I tweet them. So don't, focus on what your competitors are doing. Don't duplicate their efforts. Instead, use things like Google Analytics and Bitly to see, which of your posts are performing better. What posts aren't performing well, so you can rework those, and pay attention to what you're doing and focus on what you can do to make yourself different. Number 4, be your own media outlet and publish relevant, timely, and consistent content on social. Please, please, please do this, okay? No, it's really a turnoff when maybe a prospect comes to search your, to find your account on social, and they see that you haven't tweeted since February of 2012. It looks really bad. So, it's hard to say how much you need to because every brand is different and your audience is different. You don't want to over-publish and inundate their timelines. But you really need to just make sure consistent. If it's every day, if it's every other day, the frequency for each network is different. So find what works for you. But please be consistent. Don't let your social networks remain stagnant. And number 5, always be kind, offer help, engage in conversation, and inject a little fun. We talk about social media in the business sense, but sometimes in the business sense we forget that it is fun. So it doesn't mean using the word cray-cray if your brand can't use the word cray-cray, but it means, talk to people. Like, don't just post articles, engage with new people, post funny pictures, create your own graphics. Like, really, social media to me is just like a gigantic A/B test. Like, it's always experimentation and working at it. So I really, really encourage you guys to do that. So thank you. This is me on Twitter. If you want any, all the stats that I said, if you want to read the white papers, they're really good, relevant, new info. That's my email. And I think we have time if you guys want to do questions. I have a couple books left for anyone who engages with me. So yes, any questions? Yes. Okay, so that's an interesting question. It's not like an awesome story of valor, but I've been with Vocus for over 6 years now. And so I started out with them in college in the media research department, basically doing like cold calling and calling journalists to verify their information in our media database. Very exciting, I know. And so I was kind of an overachiever at that. I was always one of those kids who I would work, and then I'd go to class, and then I'd come back to work again because I just really liked what I did. So I just graduated to like project management at Vocus, and then I managed like entire databases. And what happened was, I think it was 2008. You know, I was seeing this Twitter thing, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. There are journalists on here, and so I was sharing like media pitching tips from my experience talking to journalists on the phone. So I created these relationships with journalists on social, and ended up finding Harrow, and I told Vocus about Harrow, and I was like, you know, this Peter Shankman guy is someone you gotta watch. He's gonna be amazing. And then a couple years later in marketing, they're like, you know, this social media thing is getting really big. I think we need someone to manage it. We can't just do it, you know, as like a side role. And I applied, and that was me. And so 6 years later, and I love it there. Thanks for the question. What else? Yeah. My biggest pet peeve on social media, I have a couple. So my one biggest pet peeve probably centers around like ads. I really do hate the promoted tweets and the promoted brands in my timeline because I do feel that it's intrusive. But what I don't hate is when brands do it and they're targeted. Like I'm getting married in June, and so there are all these wedding people targeting me, and I'm like, I love this. But then I have like these like clothing designers targeting me, and their clothing prices are like way up here, and my price point is way down here. And I'm like, obviously you didn't research me because I'm not gonna buy, $500 jeans. So I think promotions that are untargeted on social media is my biggest pet peeve because it just really shows that they don't really know or care about connections on social media. They don't care about the organic reach or engagement of social media. They're just doing it to do it and throwing money at it. And I think that's the wrong way to approach it. I really do. Yes. So I like that question because for Vocus, we're not like a terribly like visual brand. Like we're software, you can't touch it, and it's really annoying. So it's hard to show people that. But for someone who's into photography and creative design, you probably have a lot of cool stuff to show. So my suggestion would actually be Facebook #1 because you can post the pictures and then you can have conversations around it. But the biggest one would probably be Pinterest because Pinterest is growing at a rapid rate. You know, it had one of the greatest adoption rates in history when it came out. And so it's a really great place to represent your brands visually. You can make connections on it, and I'm positive they're making advancements when it comes to SEO and search on Pinterest. And the best thing about Pinterest is that you can use all those pictures to link back to your site. So we did an experiment on Pinterest, and we pinned like pictures from our blogs to a board. But they were like really cool pictures, and we pinned them, and it was actually driving a significant amount of blog traffic back to the site. So if you have calls to actions on your site, that's even better. If you're just looking for blog traffic, then Pinterest is your tool. I saw one somewhere here. Yeah. Yeah. The question was, what is the best network to join if you have like a photography or creative design business? Which network would you recommend? So, yeah, of course. And so another thing I want to say about that is, not to just join one, but don't join 10 of them because you're spreading yourself too thin. I talked a little bit about the new and shiny object syndrome. It's always cool to get on, one of the new social media networks and experiment and see what it's like, but don't don't get on 10 social media networks and expect that to be effective, because you're spreading yourself too thin. There's not enough content. You're supposed to offer something unique on each social media network, just duplicate efforts, because then that doesn't really give people a reason to follow you. So I would say no more than 5. 5 is pushing it. I mean, for big brands, like 5 is cool, but for small businesses, you know, like top 2 or 3 max. I think I saw something over there. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. So I have some great recommendations. Yeah, for pitching reporters through social. And so I wouldn't tweet them and be like, "Yo, I have this cool story. You need to cover it. Email me." Don't do that. I think, you know, through social media, what you should do is find where they write, what outlet do they write for. So let's say they write for the Wall Street Journal. Go to their Wall Street Journal articles, read their posts. Oh yeah, this is really interesting. Write a comment at the bottom about their post. Offer something new at the bottom of the post. Pose a question. And even if you don't get into conversation with the journalist, you'll get into conversation with the other people that are reading that journalist's post. And then he's going to see that, and he's going to say, So that way, if you send them an email later, they might remember your name from that comment. And if you do that consistently in your pitch, it'll also show that you know who the journalist is, because one of the pet peeves for journalists when you pitch them is that you pitch them and like you don't really know what they do or who they are or what they cover, and it shows. Like when I used to talk to reporters, they would be like, I can't stand PR people because I write about printers and somebody pitched me about pine cones. Like, what? And so, you know the journalist, comment on their stories, and then most likely they have Twitter handles. You can always Google their Twitter handle. A lot of news sites, you can click on the journalist's name and it'll show their social media accounts. Engage with them on Twitter. When they tweet a story that you like, retweet it so you stay on their radar. I think the sweet spot for social media journalist relations is staying on their radar, so they see your face and they know your name and they know that you're relevant, and one day they will come back to you. It will not be immediately. Marcus Sheridan didn't get in the New York Times overnight. It took consistent publishing of content for months, maybe even years. So stay on their radar. Yes. I think Groupon and Living Social are great for offering deals. It's a good way to get your business out there. I myself haven't experimented with it with Vocus because it just doesn't work for software, but if you're offering like a service like massages or like a product that you're doing 50% off, why not? Groupon and Living Social, their user bases are huge. I know there's been a little controversy with them, and actually I think Living Social is doing less of their partner promotions and more of their own promotions where they host stuff. So I think it's a great idea, but I think another way to go if you're looking for other options is to do like partnerships with other people who are in your vertical. Not competitors, but like, who complements my services? And if that, the two of us together, we offer a really cool solution. Do partnerships. That way you're using their brand equity to promote your brand and therefore increasing your reach. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That is interesting. You said 5 years ago you tried that. Have you thought of any other alternatives? Anybody here have suggestions for alternatives? Because hey, I'm not the only expert in this room. I know we all have business experience here, so definitely I think we should help each other, not just me. Any other questions? Alrighty, well thank you guys so much.